Hello and welcome to another episode of Be the Love to Awaken Our Souls. Thank you again so much for tuning in this week. I'm Stacy Musial.
And I am Brenda Carey. We are your co-hosts and souls on the journey, and we are on a mission to raise the consciousness of humans and the planet, and we need your help. Please spread the word to your family and friends and join us every week. Consider becoming a Patreon supporter or a sponsor to help with the operating costs like editing and the many hours we spend creating these shows with quality guests and content. And if you have resonated with our mission, support us in a way that raises your vibration to love.
And if it feels safe for you, I'd like to invite you to take a moment to get centered with us. I'd like to begin by inviting you to take a beautiful cleansing breath in through your nose and out through your mouth, releasing anything that is keeping you from being present. And take another deep breath in through your nose, breathing in calm, peaceful, loving energy, and breathing out anything you are ready to release in this now moment. And take one more breath in through your nose, breathing in light and love for yourself. And imagine breathing that light and love and send it back to all of humanity, remembering that you always have your breath to come back to.
So let's take a moment after we've had this place of stillness, this time to turn a little bit inward and really reflect on the word happiness. Happiness, because I'm assuming you chose this episode because either you want to be able to raise your vibration into more of a constant state of happiness, contentment. Maybe you are not feeling what you would call happy at this time, or could be the opposite. Maybe you are just overflowing with happiness, but just take a moment and really check in without any judgment of like, oh, I should be more happy, or I shouldn't feel this happy because that might make other people feel uncomfortable, but just allowing it to be that feeling, to be what it is. And what is happiness for you? What does it look like? For me personally, I tend to actually avoid the word happiness because I feel like it's very surface level. And I prefer words more like joy, contentment, because it feels more lasting. It has like a deeper sense to it. But for the purpose of this conversation, we will use the word happiness and how we can really raise that set point so we can lead lives from a place of more joy, contentment that is not solely conditioned on situations, on other people, on, opportunities, and just really be in this state because we are happy.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I actually, as you were sharing that, I was reflecting on my own use of the word happy, and I realized that I don't really use the word happy because it doesn't invoke as much energy as those other words. And it's not, I guess it wasn't necessarily conscious, but I veer more toward the words joy and love and excitement and passion. And so, I do, as I've been on this journey of, discovering happiness and what that truly means to me, and having that inner happiness, right? And there's some theories out there that, we have this happiness set point, right? And so that happiness set point is that place. It's, you could be anywhere on the spectrum, what you're born with, right? And so there's a genetic component. And so, but then there's also this other component that we have power over, that, and not that we don't have power over well, the genetics, but say epigenetics, lifestyle, but let's stick to the facts here that we're talking about. The brain, shiny objects. So it's that happiness set point, that genetic piece, right? And then there's that side of things. So say you're born with a 50% of happiness and that you can get to that 50%. And so then there's this other part of you that, has to really work for that happiness. And so then there's these things you can do, right? And I think in our culture, it's been this place of like trying to get the things, right? The car, the house, the job, all those. But those things, after you get those, you realize, well, I'm still in the same place that I was, right? I know I used to think that I needed to get those things, and it still left me empty. And so recognizing the things that truly bring me joy and happiness are the things that fill me up inside, the connections I have with people, and being able to be free, the experiences I have in life, right? If there's anything like I have no problem spending my money on, it's experiences, because those experiences are what bring me joy. And when I get to share that with people and the connections and the relationships and, really feeling my own personal life purpose. And so being able to, step into that to increase that level of that other side of the set point.
I think you bring up a really good point. Like you've really sat with like, what does happiness mean for me? Like having a life purpose, having, experiences whether it's, travel or just experiences that light us up. And I think that's really important for us to really sit with when we think of happiness. Like, what does that look like for me? And the trap, and I've fallen into this trap myself many times, is to look outside of myself. Social media is great with this. We sit there and we compare and we look at all the, beautiful pictures of the people we see. Maybe they went to some beautiful place or they're super happy in this beautiful relationship. And we think, oh, I would be happy if I had the partner, the money to do the thing, right? And it pulls us away from center. So I think for me, it's been truly a journey on like, okay, what does make me really happy? And to know that it is already present within me when I really tune into that. So for just a very simple example, like happiness for me is getting outside in nature. Like that is like a key cornerstone of what I need. It's actually one of the reasons I moved away from crowded suburbia into the country here in Montana, because I knew that was part of what really fills me with happiness and joy. Now, I'm not saying you have to move to do that, but we can find that many pieces that help us really tap into that energy of happiness. So that's my encouragement right now. Like really get clear. Like what are the not just the things, but what are the experiences that are already within your immediate environment that you can tap into, whether that's just going for a walk around the neighborhood, whether that's, calling a friend if relationships are important to you. Maybe it's not so much thinking, oh, I wish I had this kind of relationship instead, but look at the people that are in your sphere and that you can really tap into that. Because as we know, Stacy, what we place our attention on, our energy flows and attracts more of. So if we're constantly thinking in this, like what I don't have in scarcity mentality, we're going to get more of that. And so to help raise our set point of happiness, look at those key things that do make you happy and look what's already there and generate, the energy around that and see what else will then show up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, recognizing where our focus is such a key point, because that focus can also create that spiral and create that, to go back into that other side, right? So oftentimes, we can, get to an increased level of happiness, and then we kind of falter back, or that pendulum swings back to the regular set point no matter what's happening in our life, right? But we can consciously choose our thoughts and and what we want to focus on, and that might even be feeling, right, those feelings that are coming up that are maybe in a trigger state, and feeling those, to really tune in and energetically move some of that energy so you can move back into that increased level of happiness or joy, or love, and continue to increase that. Because the more we also let go of that, because we're also, in my thinking, in my theory is that we are also, genetically, we're holding on to maybe even some ancestral stuff that may be keeping that set point there, right? And so as we're working on the level of trauma or the energy of emotion that's keeping that DNA, that genetic code there, we can, as we're releasing that, we can also inch that set point to a new level, for our future generations and even the generations behind us. So we can, as we're doing the work, we're continuing to grow that set point and continuing to focus on, what it is we do want to create, because that is really the journey, right? Is learning to recognize that our thoughts do not control us, but we can redirect, and we can navigate through them and consciously become aware of them so that they do not control us anymore.
Right. So true. I think definitely over the years, you mentioned, excuse me, some of the generational patterns. For me, I grew up with this, I don't know, old belief system or idea, probably absorbed from family members, that we're just waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like, if something good is happening, if we feel happy, well, just wait. The other shoe is going to drop. And then, so there was this kind of underlying fear and worry under that kind of was still there within the happiness. So for me, it was recognizing when that old generational belief system would kind of slip in there, and realize, you know what? A lot of it is judging my thoughts on, oh no, this bad thing is bound to happen and it's going to be really bad and I'm not going to like it. And it would start this negative spiral, right? So once I was aware and caught myself in that, I began to learn that, you know what, the human experience is happiness, and it's also its opposite. We live in a world of duality. There's no way around that. And to have acceptance that, yes, there are going to be periods of happiness, there are going to be periods of sadness and worry, and just to know that, for me, the mantra of this too shall pass has been very powerful, that it will not be forever, and that I can choose something different, but I can also sit with both. Like, we have to have both. We have to have both sides, at least on this side. On this side of our life experience, who knows on when we transition, we get to experience both. And there is beauty in both the happiness, joy, and also the sadness, and even the fear, because that's where we can really, really dive deep and learn about ourselves. It's such a great personal growth process, and we become a more compassionate, loving person to ourselves, and then consequently to other people.
Mm, yeah, yeah. There's this whole thing with the duality, right? Is we do have to, I think, as we're transitioning, I see us moving into a state of this 5D dimension, right? The 5-dimensional reality of where it is about love. And I feel like our planet is transitioning there, where, yes, as we're transitioning out of that, we're also transitioning from this duality to a non-duality state, which there's, I've experienced it, and we're all kind of, and it's not like this, we're not ascending to this place above, but it's more of an expansion of energy and recognizing that it's not so black and white anymore. And when we can really kind of find that balance in that state, then we can really step out of this fear-based place, this, seeing things as right or wrong, or, black or white, and just be with what is, which does help the expansion of energy, which also expands this, this set point that maybe the human consciousness, the human genetic code has been conditioned to based on, our ancestors. And
Right.
that's where I think, they've been, for so long. And we are at a whole new state of awakening where we're trying to transition out of that. And I think that's where this whole shadow work is coming from, and expanding our states of consciousness.
Yeah, so true. We are expanding our states of consciousness, being more accepting of all the emotions, of all the feelings that arise, happiness, joy, anger, frustration, but just being in it all and being aware of it. And I think when we are able to be in this place of just total acceptance of what is present moment living, not wishing for things to be different, not, comparing ourselves thinking, well, my journey should be more like his or hers, we enter this flow state.
Mm.
And I love this idea, and it's been talked about. We had a previous interview, please check that out, with Dashama, about how we can change our life forever in this flow state, how we can manifest our very best life in this flow state. And I think part of really shifting our happiness set point, part of, really reaching out into a higher level of consciousness is really accessing this flow state.
Oh my gosh. Yes, yes, yes. The flow state is such a beautiful place, because when you can really tap into the flow state, in my experience, right, it's really about doing the work, letting go of those layers. And when you let go of those layers and you tap into, what it is you want, and you get clarity, and things just tend to flow, and things start showing up in your life, and they start manifesting, and the energy is just feels so good, and the right people are coming in, and you're just like, it's so beautiful when you can truly tap into it. And it's this heartfelt space too, right? So like, you're in you're just letting go and trusting. And when you can get into that place, it is magical. I've just had so much magic happen in my life just by stepping into that flow. It's like kind of like stepping into this, imagine this, stepping into this river, and this river is just flowing, and you're just part of the river, and there's no resistance, there's no fight, you're not going against the current, but you're just going with the current of energy. And you're just like imagining this stream of energy just flowing to you right exactly where you need to be, and then trusting, right?
Mm.
And then if anything comes up, right, if you notice, that fear of that shoe dropping, right? I think that's a very common one. I've had that. That still comes up for me every now and then. And so I just, have to remember to breathe into that, because that's not my natural state, because those old belief patterns came from those ancestors, right? And so we get to consciously recognize when they come up, or this, I'm not good enough, right? And so like, breathing into that, letting that go, and then stepping right back into that stream of consciousness that will just flow you where you need to be when you trust.
I love that you brought in the element of water, obviously for flow state, but water, she is such a compassionate and healing element. And when we breathe, which is really associated with our prana energy, our life force energy, we are drawing in so much of that vital energy force that we need to be in that flow state, to raise our set point of happiness and joy and love. And I would just like to say to our listeners, for those of you who are looking to access like this flow state, maybe you've experienced, little bits of it and pieces of it. One of the really important questions that I try to bring to mind is, who am I becoming? Like, I think that is really key. And for me, it's like, I am becoming a woman of compassion, of self-love. I'm becoming a woman who speaks her truth, knows what she stands for. So really sit with that as you explore this idea of what is happiness for you? And who is the person that you are becoming, and releasing that with several deep breaths, releasing that into this river of life force energy that we are all intricately connected to.
Yes, I think that's such a beautiful, recognizing and stepping into that. And then even, taking that, who am I becoming? And then who am I? Right. And like taking that and putting that into the present even.
Yes.
I am a beautiful soul on this journey. I am, passionate and loving, and I bring my heart-centered self. Stepping into what is for you right now.
And thank you for listening to Be the Love podcast. If you have enjoyed listening to our show, please share the love by sharing it with your family and friends, giving us a 5-star written review on iTunes and Spotify, or liking us on Facebook. I am Brenda Carey, and as a holistic healer, I offer coaching and online programs to guide people in their sacred path to vibrant health. My website is sacredpathyogaandreiki.com.
And I'm Stacy Musial. I'm a psychotherapist specializing in whole person, deep soul healing. You can find out more about my work, my book, and programs at awakenyouремpoweredsoul.com. And thank you for listening. Please consider supporting our mission to awaken our souls with a monthly donation that helps us with the operating costs of this podcast so we can continue to spread the love. To contribute, visit our Patreon website at patreon.com/BeTheLovePodcast. And stay tuned for more episodes being released on Mondays at 5:55 a.m. Mountain Time.